Have you ever sat in a room so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat echo through the walls? Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the thick, heavy kind that lingers when no one else is around. No conversations, no footsteps, not even a whisper from the other side of a closed door. Just you. The kettle cools after making tea for one. The television hums in the background to fill the space where laughter used to live. And the longer the stillness stretches, the more you wonder, how did life become so quiet? What really happens when you grow old and are left completely alone, not just for an afternoon or a weekend, but day after day, morning after morning, night after night? We don't talk about it much. It makes people uncomfortable. Even those who are living it often pretend it's fine, because admitting it out loud somehow feels like failure. But behind closed doors, millions of seniors around the world are living this silent truth, waking up in empty homes, eating every meal in solitude, and drifting through their days without a single word exchanged. It's one of the great unspoken chapters of aging, how solitude, if we're not prepared for it, can slowly chip away at our sense of purpose, identity, and joy. But here's the truth that never gets said loudly enough. Being alone in your later years doesn't have to mean being lonely. Solitude is not inherently sad. In fact, for those who understand how to navigate it, it can become one of the most meaningful, introspective, and even liberating stages of life. Because here's the paradox. The quieter your world becomes, the more clearly you can hear yourself. And when no one else is there to fill the silence, you get to decide what it's filled with. That's what this video is really about. Not fear, not pity, but power. The power to take something as daunting as aging alone and turn it into a space for growth, wellness, and inner peace. In the next parts, we're going to walk through 4 essential principles, 4 deeply practical, research-backed habits that have helped countless seniors not just survive in solitude, but thrive in it. These aren't surface-level suggestions like stay positive or make new friends. These are grounded, real-life practices drawn from both psychological research and the lived experiences of those who've walked this path before you. They are habits that give your days shape, restore your energy, strengthen your spirit, and give your time meaning again, even when no one else is watching. But before we begin, let me be clear. This is not about denying the challenges. Aging alone can be profoundly hard. It's okay to admit that. It's okay to feel the ache of an empty chair, the heaviness of anniversaries with no one to share them. You're allowed to miss people. You're allowed to grieve the way things were. But after the grief, and there is always grief, there's a choice. You can let solitude shrink your world, or you can use it to expand inward, to become your own anchor, to find strength in rhythms, joy in movement, connection in small doses, and purpose that no one else needs to validate. If you've already found yourself in this chapter, waking up alone more often than not, this video is for you. If you suspect it may be part of your future, this video is also for you. Because the tools you'll hear today aren't just for the elderly. They're for anyone who understands that life doesn't always unfold the way we imagined it, but that we can still shape how we meet it. And if you stay until the end, you'll hear a final insight, one that's helped so many seniors make peace with their solitude and turn their later years into something quietly beautiful. So if you're feeling a little forgotten, a little disconnected, a little unsure of how to fill your days without the noise of others, stay with me. You are not alone in feeling this way. And more importantly, you are not without options. Your story isn't over. This chapter isn't an afterthought. It's a canvas, and what you paint on it is entirely up to you. Let's begin. 1. Establish a steady daily routine. Prevents disorientation and emotional decline, gives structure and rhythm to the day, improves mental clarity, sleep, and digestion. Example: an 81-year-old man regained control after creating a simple routine. The moment the last voice leaves your home, whether by absence, death, or distance, time changes. It no longer feels like something you move through. It becomes something that moves through you. And if you're not careful, it stops making sense. Mornings blur into afternoons that feel like evenings. You glance at the clock and realize it's 3 p.m. and you're still in the clothes you slept in. You tell yourself you're just relaxing, but deep down, you feel unmoored. There's no one waiting for you to start the day. No one to notice if you skip breakfast. No one to care if you stay up all night watching television. And slowly, without even realizing it, time begins to lose shape until it doesn't feel like you're living days anymore, just drifting through them. This is one of the quietest dangers of growing old alone. The erosion of rhythm, the gradual softening of the edges that once defined your life. You used to wake up because you had somewhere to be, someone to greet, a job to get to, a meal to prepare. You had a rhythm, even if you never called it that. And rhythm, predictable, anchoring rhythm, is what keeps the mind oriented, the emotions steady, and the body in sync with itself. That's why one of the most important habits, the first true lifeline when living alone, is creating a steady daily routine. Not a rigid schedule, not a productivity checklist, but a gentle, purposeful rhythm that tells your body and your brain, I am awake, I am moving, I am still here, and I still matter. Start small. Wake up at the same time every day, even if you don't have anywhere to go. Get dressed, even if no one will see you. Make your bed, even if you'll be back in it tonight. These simple hacks aren't trivial. They're acts of self-respect. They're how you reclaim control over your time when it starts to feel slippery. And when the world outside your home grows quieter, your inner world becomes your compass. Take Walter, for example. After losing his wife of 53 years, the silence in his home was overwhelming. The first few months, he didn't bother getting dressed most mornings. He ate cereal for dinner. The days blurred. Then one day, after waking up disoriented for the third time in a week, he decided to make a change. He didn't overhaul his life. He just made a list. Wake at 7, shower, open the curtains, eat toast and tea, walk to the mailbox, read on the porch. Within weeks, he felt more clear-headed. The depression that had quietly crept in began to lift. He still lived alone, but now he lived. That's the difference. A routine doesn't solve loneliness, but it holds you steady. And steadiness, in the face of quiet, is a form of power. Science supports this too. Researchers have found that older adults who maintain structured days are less prone to depression, cognitive decline, and anxiety. Their sleep improves. Their digestion stabilizes. Their memory holds longer. Why? Because the brain craves patterns. When we lose those patterns, especially in the absence of external demands, we begin to lose track of time. And when we lose time, we lose self. It doesn't have to be complex. It just has to be consistent. Maybe every morning you write one line in a journal. Maybe every afternoon you water your plants. Maybe evenings mean tea and soft music before bed. These rituals aren't just filler, they're cues, signals to your brain that you're not drifting. You're living. Even in solitude, you can live with intention. Think of your routine like a quiet scaffolding around your day. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, but it holds you. It gives your thoughts places to go, your body reasons to move, your spirit something to look forward to. And that anticipation, even if it's just knowing you'll sit on your porch at 4 p.m., is what keeps meaning alive. Let's be honest. One of the hardest things about aging alone is feeling like the world no longer requires your participation. But you can flip that story. You can say, I still participate. I still show up. Even if it's just for myself. Especially if it's just for myself. The act of lighting a candle at dinner, even when no one else is there. The simple gesture of making your space smell nice in the morning. Wearing a sweater that makes you feel like you again. These are not small things. These are anchors. And anchors are how ships stay upright in still water. If you're sitting there thinking, but I'm tired, I don't feel like doing anything anymore, that's okay. That feeling is real. It's heavy. But it's not permanent. And the only way to move through it is gently. Start by moving one thing. Shift one habit. Stand up and open the window every morning at the same time. That one motion can be the start of an entire new rhythm. And rhythms are healing. They give your life shape again. So today, ask yourself, what time will I get up tomorrow? What will I wear even if no one sees me? What small thing will I do, not because I have to, but because I'm worth doing it for? You may live alone, but your time still belongs to you. And how you fill that time, how you shape it and color it and protect it, is one of the most powerful decisions you still get to make. So make it count. Not for anyone else's applause, but because your peace is worth protecting, and your life, even in its quietest moments, deserves structure, rhythm, and care. 2. Gentle daily movement. Counters physical stiffness and cognitive decline. Boosts mood, energy, and longevity. Doesn't require a gym. Simple stretches, walks, or chair exercises suffice. Example, a woman started with walking to her mailbox, gradually improving her strength and outlook. It's easy to underestimate stillness. At first, it feels restful. You tell yourself, I've earned this. You sink into the familiar curve of your favorite chair. You linger longer in bed. You avoid the stairs. There's no one rushing you, no need to get dressed quickly, no one waiting. So the stillness grows, slowly, quietly, until one day you realize it's harder to stand up. Your knees creak, your back stiffens. The walk to the mailbox feels longer than it used to. And maybe, without even noticing, you've gone an entire day without truly moving your body. This is the hidden cost of living alone in older age, not just the silence, but the stillness. Because when no one else is there to call you outside, to invite you on errands, to walk with you after dinner, or nudge you out of bed in the morning, your body begins to drift into dormancy. And dormancy, in the later chapters of life, isn't neutral. It's dangerous. Muscles weaken, joints tighten, your balance falters, your spirit dims. But here's the hopeful part. Movement is medicine, and you don't need a gym, equipment, or a personal trainer to benefit from it. You don't even need to break a sweat. All you need is commitment. Because every small act of movement tells your body something powerful. I still need you. I still care. We're not done yet. It's not about being fit. It's about being free. Free to get out of a chair without help. Free to step over the doorstep without fear. Free to bathe yourself, make your meals, water your plants, and go where your heart wants to go without your body standing in the way. That freedom doesn't come from age. It comes from movement. Start simple. Stand up and sit down 10 times in a row from your chair. Stretch your arms while the kettle boils. Walk to the end of your driveway and back. Then do it again tomorrow. Then add 5 more steps. Let it build like a quiet rhythm, not to impress anyone, not to count calories, but to remind yourself that your body is still yours. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She's 78. After her husband passed, she barely left her house. Her legs ached. She moved less. She slept more. She assumed it was a grief, and it was, but it was also inertia. Then, one morning, while brushing crumbs from her lap, she glanced out the window at her mailbox. It looked far, but not impossible. She walked there. Slowly. She did it again the next day. A week later, she walked the entire block. Now, each morning, Eleanor puts on a wide-brimmed hat, ties her shoes, and greets the day with a walk. Not fast, not long, but full of intention. And it changed her life. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to feel awake again, alive again. That's the truth no one tells you. Your body wants to survive. It's waiting for your permission. It's waiting for your signal that life is still happening, that you still want to participate, that the world outside your window is still yours to move through. And science agrees. Studies show that even light movement in seniors, standing, stretching, short walks, reduces the risk of depression, supports better sleep, and delays cognitive decline. It boosts circulation, sharpens thinking, and improves immune response. But more than all that, it gives you your agency back. You may live alone, but your body doesn't have to shut down because no one else is watching. This movement, these small daily efforts, they are your declaration that solitude does not mean surrender. Let's talk about balance for a moment. One of the greatest risks to elderly independence isn't illness, it's falling. And the best protection against that is strength. Not lifting weights in a gym, not doing squats or planks, just simple movements that wake up the legs, engage the core, retrain the reflexes, standing on one foot while brushing your teeth, slowly rising from a low chair, marching in place while watching the news. These are not exercises. They are acts of defiance against decline. And if you've been sedentary for a while, it's okay to start slow. Your body will be stiff. It will resist at first, but with time, it will respond. Because bodies, like hearts, remember how to come back. Let movement also become a doorway to the world. A walk down your street is not just exercise. It's a chance to see the sky, to feel the sun, to wave at a neighbor, to hear birdsong that you'd forgotten still existed. These sensory moments matter. They tether you to reality. They affirm that you are not invisible, that your life still brushes against the lives of others, even in quiet ways. If you're someone who struggles to feel motivated when no one else is around, create tiny rituals. Play your favorite music while you stretch. Reward yourself with a warm drink after a walk. Mark your progress on a wall calendar, not for anyone else's eyes, but for your own. Because when you see the X's stack up, you realize you've built something. You're not just passing time. You're choosing it, and that choice matters. When you move your body, you move your mind. You awaken your spirit. You give your day a sense of direction. Even if your world is small, your motion within it makes it feel bigger. So today, if all you do is stand up 10 times in a row, celebrate that. If all you manage is a walk to the mailbox, call it victory. Because every step you take is a step back toward yourself. Your body has carried you this far. It still deserves your care. And you, even in solitude, still deserve to feel strong. 3. Maintain small but meaningful social connections. Fights emotional isolation and cognitive deterioration. Doesn't require a big social circle, just consistent, light contact. Example, an elderly man initiated a neighborly gesture that led to weekly coffee and renewed joy. The thing about silence is that it doesn't come all at once. It arrives in pieces. First, it's the quiet after dinner. Then, it's the empty space beside you at the breakfast table. Eventually, it becomes whole days where your voice barely escapes your own mouth. You turn on the television for background noise. You check your phone, hoping for a message. You walk through the house, listening for something that used to be there. A laugh, a name, a conversation. But all you hear is quiet, and after a while, it starts to echo. It starts to weigh. Growing older alone doesn't just mean living without others. It often means feeling disconnected from the world you once belonged to. The people you loved move away or pass on. The social obligations fade. The invitations stop. And slowly, your sense of being part of something begins to erode. But here's the important truth. Connection doesn't require a crowd. It doesn't demand a full calendar or noisy dinner parties. Sometimes, the most powerful connection is just being seen, even briefly, even gently. You don't need dozens of relationships. You need moments of contact that remind you that you still matter. Let me tell you about Richard. He's 83, lives alone, and his 2 sons moved across the country years ago. At first, he didn't mind the quiet. He enjoyed the freedom. But after a year passed, he realized something had changed. It wasn't depression exactly, but a sort of flattening. Days felt gray. His words felt unused. One day, he left a note for a neighbor offering to bring in their mail while they were out of town. That small note led to a thank you, which led to Saturday morning coffee. Just once a week, nothing big. But for Richard, it became the highlight of his week. It reminded him that he wasn't invisible. That's the thing about human connection. We are wired for it, and even the smallest dose can keep our hearts alive. It could be as simple as a 5-minute phone call with someone you care about, a brief chat with the pharmacist, a smile exchanged with the grocery clerk. These aren't meaningless interactions. They are the emotional threads that hold your spirit together, especially when you live alone. Loneliness doesn't mean being alone. It means feeling disconnected. And that disconnection can sneak in even when you're doing everything else right. That's why creating tiny rituals of contact is so important. Call a grandchild every Sunday, greet the mail carrier, send a birthday card to someone you haven't seen in years. These aren't just social gestures, they're lifelines. They tell your brain and your heart, I'm still part of the world. Science backs this up. Seniors who maintain even light social interaction have better immune function, lower rates of depression, and even reduced risk of dementia. This isn't fluff, it's biology. Your brain thrives on connection. It stays sharper when it hears your name spoken aloud. It lights up when someone asks how you are, even casually. If you're someone who feels isolated but doesn't know where to start, Begin with one connection, one person you can reach out to. It could be someone from the past, a cousin, a neighbor, an old friend. Send a letter, leave a voicemail, extend a hand. And if that feels too hard, start even smaller. Say hello to someone during your walk. Ask a question at the store. Make eye contact. These tiny points of contact may feel trivial, but they're not. They're what help you feel alive again. And if you truly don't have anyone left, if the people you loved are gone or too far, there are still ways to connect. You can volunteer, read to children at the library, knit for a local hospital, call into a radio show, comment on a community blog, mentor someone online. The opportunities may not be obvious, but they are there, and they are waiting for someone just like you. What matters most is that you don't let silence turn into isolation. You don't let independence turn into invisibility. Even if you're naturally introverted, even if you like being alone, your heart still needs to be seen. Your voice still deserves to be heard. And let's not forget the most beautiful truth of all. You still have so much to give. Wisdom, patience, humor, compassion, your presence, your story, your experience. These things matter. Whether you share them with one person or 100, the world is richer because you're in it. So if you're feeling the pull of loneliness, don't wait for someone to knock on your door. Be the one who reaches. Be the one who calls. Be the one who waves first. And slowly, you'll rebuild that bridge between you and the world. One small step at a time. You don't need to be surrounded. You just need to be connected. 4. Find personal purpose. Gives a reason to get up and look forward to each day. Can be simple. Writing, gardening, storytelling, mentoring. Linked to improved mental health and longer life. Example, a man began writing his life stories after losing his wife, reclaiming meaning and peace. There's a moment that comes in solitude, not right away, but eventually, when the silence around you becomes a question. You wake up and there's no one to cook for, no one waiting, no appointments, no tasks that can't be delayed. So you pause, sitting on the edge of your bed, and the question lingers in the room like morning light through half-drawn curtains. Why get up at all? Not in a dramatic way, not in despair, but in that quiet, aching way that only solitude can create. It's the moment when you realize that what's missing isn't just people, it's purpose. The deep, invisible engine that once pulled you through each day. Raising kids, building a career, taking care of a spouse, managing a home, being needed. And then one day, without warning, that need fades. The job ends. The house quiets. The calls come less often, and suddenly it's not your body that's failing, it's your reason. This is perhaps the most painful and most powerful truth about growing old alone. Without purpose, life starts to feel like waiting. But with purpose, even a small one, life becomes a choice again. It becomes an act of creation, not just preservation. Let me tell you about Samuel. He's 79. After his wife passed, the house that once felt too small now echoed. The television stayed on just for background noise. He wandered from room to room, unsure what to do with himself. Then one morning, he opened a box in his garage and found an old typewriter. It still worked. He brought it inside, wiped off the dust, and started writing. Not for anyone else, just memories. Stories from his Navy days. The first time he saw snow, how he met his wife. He typed a little each morning, and soon those stories filled pages. They weren't perfect, but they were his. And through the act of remembering, he found meaning again. He said, I don't feel like I'm fading anymore. I feel like I'm preserving. That's what purpose does. It doesn't erase pain. It doesn't fix loneliness, but it fills the gaps. It gives your days edges. It gives your mind something to reach for. And it reminds your heart that you still matter, even if only to yourself. You don't need a career to have purpose. You don't need applause. You just need something that matters to you. It might be as simple as writing a journal, growing tomatoes, knitting a blanket for someone who's cold, painting, calling someone each morning just to say hello, learning something new, or passing down something old. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to move you, to pull you forward, to make the morning feel like a beginning, not a chore. Psychologists have studied this. Seniors with a sense of purpose, even small, personal ones, report better emotional health, lower stress, stronger immunity, and even longer lives. Why? Because humans were never built to drift. We are built to aim. When we stop aiming, we start unraveling. So how do you find that aim again? Start by asking, what did I love before the noise of life got in the way? What used to make me lose track of time? What am I curious about now that I finally have space to explore? Or ask, who might benefit from something I know, something I've seen, something I've lived? Maybe your purpose is writing letters to your grandchildren so they'll always remember your stories. Maybe it's organizing old photos. Maybe it's starting a small vegetable garden that gives you a reason to step outside each day. Maybe it's visiting a neighbor every Thursday just to share tea and talk. These may sound small, but they are anchors, and anchors hold you upright when the world feels weightless and wide. There's another beautiful thing about living alone. You get to choose with no permission needed. No one to rush you. No one to question your interests. If you've always wanted to learn the piano, do it. If you've wanted to read every book by your favorite author, make it a mission. You don't have to be productive. You just have to be engaged. And purpose doesn't always feel joyful. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's hard. But it keeps you tethered. And that tether is everything. Remember, you are not here to just pass time. You are here to shape it, to color it with whatever you choose, even if no one else sees it, because you see it. And that's enough. You don't need to be needed in the way you once were. But you still need to need yourself, to expect something from yourself, to create something, contribute something, protect something, even if it's just your peace. So ask yourself, what will give me a reason to get up tomorrow? Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because that reason is your compass. And even in solitude, it can guide you home. There comes a point in every long journey when you stop and look back, not to dwell, but to understand. You see the road behind you, the people who once walked beside you, the laughter that filled the rooms you now clean in silence, the milestones you reached and the ones you never quite made it to. And then you turn your eyes forward again toward the now, the quiet space around you, the stillness that used to feel empty, but today feels different. You begin to realize something that no one prepared you for, but that you've always known in your bones. Life doesn't end when others leave. It changes shape. And whether that shape becomes a shadow or a sculpture is up to you. Growing old alone is one of the great untold realities of modern life. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make headlines, but it touches millions. Behind closed doors, in quiet apartments and small rural homes, Seniors everywhere are waking up in solitude. Some for the first time, others after decades of partnership, others having never known it any other way. And the question we all face in that silence is not just, what do I do now? But who do I become now? What we've uncovered throughout this video is that solitude, though often heavy, is also fertile. It's a place where clarity can grow, where identity can stretch beyond roles and responsibilities, where dignity can be rebuilt not through noise, but through intention. Let's revisit what we've learned together. First, rhythm matters. Without it, time becomes weightless and meaningless. A simple daily routine, getting dressed, opening curtains, preparing a warm meal. These are not chores. They're acts of quiet rebellion against mental drift. They are proof that you still respect your own time. Second, movement is survival. Not just physical survival, but emotional and cognitive resilience. The choice to walk a few steps, to stretch while you wait for the kettle, to breathe deeply as you stand tall. These aren't workouts. They're messages to your own body that say, I still care. I'm still showing up. Third, connection doesn't need to be loud to be real. A brief call, a wave at the neighbor, a chat with the cashier. These aren't scraps of conversation. They're bridges, and they remind you that you are not invisible. Fourth, purpose isn't reserved for the young or the busy. It's for anyone with a beating heart and a willing spirit. Even the smallest act, tending a plant, writing a letter, learning a skill, can give your life a center again. And finally, we've learned that even in the quietest rooms, you still have power. Power to shape your day, to move through the world, to reach out, to rise for a reason, and to create meaning where once there was only memory. You may have lost things, people, roles, energies, but you are not lost. And as long as there is breath in you, there is opportunity to listen, to speak, to give, to grow, and perhaps most importantly, to be proud of how you're still standing, even now. Especially now. This isn't a video about avoiding loneliness. It's a guide to living with it, transforming it, making peace with the quiet so that it no longer feels like a punishment, but like a new kind of space. One where you finally hear your own voice clearly again. You are not the only one going through this, and you are not powerless in how you respond to it. So here's the final question I'll leave you with. Not a summary, but a challenge. What is one thing you can do tomorrow, just one thing, that honors the life you still have? Maybe it's waking up on purpose. Maybe it's taking a slow walk. Maybe it's calling someone. Maybe it's writing something down that only you know. It doesn't have to be big, but it should be yours. Because this chapter of life, it's not an epilogue. It's still part of the story, and you're still the author.